What is this? Poop? Poop? Dude. Stop! Please, no more, please, no more! The animation, oh my god, the animation. Wiz Khalifa! It was a night like any other. The cold winter air caressed my neck as I hunched over my desk. To my surprise, a foul stench took up residence in my shabby masturbatory. I shit myself, I thought. Not again. But to my misfortune, it wasn't poop this time. It was the stench of discovery. And discover is exactly what I did, baby! With a lack of sleep and the impulse to reach the very end of my anime list to find the worst anime ever made, no matter how long it took, I set sail. The views, the power, the women, I would have it all with a video like this. And after 1 minute and 30 seconds, the impossible happened. I got bored and gave up. Let's Google it. Finally, we've arrived at our options. Here's how this video is gonna work. You and I are gonna skip through the first anime together. Then, we're gonna watch pretty much a whole movie while I hold your hand and talk about it. And on the last anime, I'll summarize it and we'll have a fun time. Feel free to use the timestamps if you get sick of hearing me talk about any one of these absolute titans. Mars of Destruction, Dark Cat, and Vampire Homes. Gentlemen, ladies, I'll see you on the other side. Mars of Destruction is somehow the lowest rated anime on this list. It's about a future version of Earth where aliens invade Japan. Only Japan. This sparked curiosity in me. Why is it that in anime, aliens only seem to invade Japan? And the only reasonable deduction I could come to is that it's gotta be the K-pop. Aliens love K-pop. That's just some trivia, let's talk about the show. I was obviously gonna watch the dub because usually the English version makes the show way worse, so while the intro was playing, I noticed something. What the fuck? The music will deadass change depending on if you're watching the dub or sub. Not only that, but other sound effects were clearly incorrect. The subtitles were off.
I swear, I never touched the girl.
I realized that these aren't young, fresh, ambitious voice actors excited to do their job. These are a bunch of people that just don't give a fuck. This is a crew of broken men, too bothered to even give a fuck about whether they're fired or not, or go homeless. You can't just deliver a line like this and keep going.
I don't know if I can do it. Okay. All boarding the 7:25 train from Indianapolis.
Travis, speak up!
To Seattle.
I guess 4 guys got bored one day and decided to dub the entire episode and make most of the sound effects themselves. It's really the only existing dub of the show I could find, so we have 2 options. We can either watch it how the Japanese intended, or watch it how 4 drunk white guys in an attic intended. I think my choice is obvious. The show kicks off with some girls fighting the dumbest looking aliens I've ever seen. They suck, by the way. I mean, look at this. Oh! That is until our lead protagonist arrives to save the day, Tommy, who promptly gets beat up and hospitalized. This is one of the lamest and most slow-paced fight scenes you and I are going to see for a long time. It's actually awkward how quiet and muffled everything is as this puppet monster goes to give Tommy a titty twister. While in the America version, you got Power Rangers music, you got monster noises, you got stuff like this. Tommy! I'm having a blast at this point, so I kept it pushing. After the battle, Tommy ends up hospitalized and having flashbacks of his past where they copy Evangelion, but in the fight, his girlfriend's brain has been damaged. It appears that to preserve her life, they have to replace her brain with that of a dolphin. My heart dropped at this point because I realized that I had almost no fucking clue what was actually going on and would have to switch to the normal version. Now that I understand what's going on, the story explains AST, Anti-Unidentified Ancient Special Team, Defenders of Earth, composed of the best martial artists, swordsmen, and gun people, and Tommy, who is just in high school. That's the thing that the narrator thinks of. That's the only thing they can say. He's not really good at anything. They don't even know why he's on the team. This is boring. Let's see how the dub is doing.
AST is made up from people taken from various police.
Yolanda better get an intro.
The gang is on their way to some research center to transport shards from the broken spaceship that popped in the beginning. But a car explodes! The ancients try to hijack this car, I guess, and this big guy shows up, so Tommy shows up, and then Tommy runs to get the bad guy, and the bad guy, well, I guess Tommy's out again. Things are looking grim. The monster is just standing there, and Tommy has to save everyone with a brand new plasma rifle that can only fire one shot. Luckily, the monster doesn't really seem to be putting anyone in danger, it just really likes choking people. Wham! Tommy aces the monster in one shot and the day is saved. But then it's revealed that the Ancients are actually Martians. But then it's also revealed that the Martians are the true Earthlings all along. All in a triumphant twist to really confuse... Wait, that's the end? There's no other episodes. It just ends there. One episode was enough. The show is extremely awkward. There's next to no sense of realism in any of the scenes, and there's an immense amount of silence just drowning out any sort of cinematic impression that the show could have been trying to leave on you. Not only that, but the dialogue is like reading the back of a pill bottle. Just shut up. Which is what made switching to the dub so entertaining. Literally any time the Japanese version started boring me, I could just immediately switch to the dub and have fun. I loved watching this. Weirdly, it also magnified how absurd a lot of normal anime scenes are too. The way they highlight grunts and intentionally make pauses in sentences awkward translates to other shows. Like, yeah, realistically, the constant are pretty dumb. Rating my overall enjoyment, I give this a 7 out of 10. Would sort of recommend. The original Japanese version would be like torture. The story is beyond boring. It's not even really funny, ironically, like other shows on this list. But if you can switch back and forth like myself, or just watch the fan dub, which is 100% on YouTube, go for it. It's only 20 minutes long. The city is in great peril. Girls around the country have been disappearing, but that's not important. Look at this stupid idiot.
You'll have to forgive me.
For what?
I can't offer you anything to
You
drink.
bitch!
I can't get
You
out of
useless
bed.
Oh, that's all right.
Early on, I began to take note of how bad the voice acting is. There's not really a lot of emotion in these lines, just words.
You should get some sleep.
Okay, why are we paused for so long?
No! I can't fall asleep. I'll die.
What are you talking about?
That is the
You died a long time ago.
What? The girl is a ghost or something and tries to kill the edgy guy, but the edgy guy is like, trust me, it'll be cool. And then she's like, well, I guess he told me it'll be cool, and decides not to shred him like confetti. This is one of our male leads, Hyoi. This is Ayumi. She is asthmatic, a bit of a simp, and clearly voiced by at least a 49-year-old woman.
Hey, you know, you sound like my mom.
Your mom's dead, you're old. Ayumi is special because the story told us she's special, and her cat is actually this guy's brother because this guy can turn into a cat sometimes to fight evil, and so can his brother. How do they fight evil? Well, funny enough, this is actually where the story gets sort of creative. Instead of having a generic superpower like flight or super strength, they go meow and turn into cats. This is f***ing retarded. Anyway, Ayumi finally meets Hyoi, and she's all like,
Damn, bitch, keep it down.
I'm Hoi Kagasa.
wow. That was not the voice I was expecting. Even after watching the movie, I don't really know why he randomly chose to introduce himself to her, or why his brother was watching the whole thing and was like, here we go again. What do you mean, here we go again? Is there a recurring problem with him introducing himself to minors? Oh. 2 more characters we need to introduce before we get to the fun part. Here's Hiroki, the most pathetic, depressed, and realistic character I've ever seen in my life.
I'm never gonna have a real girlfriend. I'm gonna be by myself forever.
I guess his whole thing is that he's been transmuted into a Reddit mod after some trauma, so now at least 90% of his dialogue is him saying relatable shit all the time. Ayumi saves Hyoi from getting bullied by Sylvester Stallone, and he lies there all depressed until she checks on him.
Let's split before they both get their periods.
What a pussy, let's get out of here.
Then he says, piss off. So she goes home all sad and announces her feelings out loud. This is where it gets good. The next day at school, Ayumi is doing chores and she knocks down the trash she was carrying. Some teacher notices, and man, their interaction is so weird, I'm just gonna play it.
Oh, look at what you've done. You've made such a mess.
It's
Yes,
leaves.
ma'am. I'll clean it up. Where are you going? To get the broom. Do it with your hands.
What?
What did you say? Get
Oh my
down
God,
on your
she's
knees
serious.
And pick it up with your hands.
This isn't anime,
Do
this
it.
is smut.
Yuck. Stop
I need
it.
exactly 3 paper towels, 1/2 pump of lotion in 2 minutes.
What do you think you're doing?
Meet Rui, part-time alpha male, full-time cat. So she goes to meet the teacher just like she said, and That smut joke very quickly became not a joke. They start playing jazz. She leans over this little dude saying, "Hey, come on." Like the dude in the beginning, it's all bad. And right as they lean over for a kiss, bam, a wiener's crawling out of her mouth. Surprise! Big Brother breaks in and explains that every human has a little bit of evil inside of them that can be used to distort the soul or whatever, and begins to suspect that someone is behind this. And someone is behind this. It's a green booger man! This guy has been preying on the negative feelings of humans to turn everyone into demons. He's also the one who trained the Dark Cat brothers who later decide to fight against evil. And the fight that comes right after finding that out is where you realize exactly how stupid the transformations are and how awkward and ear-grating the voice acting is. But then one of the cats pulls out a sword and Booger Man is all like, "Holy shit! Shit!" and literally runs away seconds after. The little one's like, "Fuck, dude, what are we gonna do?" And the big one's all like, "Want a macrodose on DMT in the woods?" While they're bugging out, Ayumi goes to check on Hiroki and basically throws herself at him. Unfortunately, Hiroki started moderating the r/atheism subreddit and hates God, life, and women now.
So depressing.
Don't touch it.
He tells her about when he got the worst friend zoning of all time, and now his entire school life is in shambles. He literally stopped sleeping, stopped showing up to school. It's actually pretty messed up. On the other hand, we find out that Ayumi is secretly in love with Hiroki as she starts lovingly reminiscing over their childhood photos. I mean crying. She's now crying. Ayumi is very sad that Hiroki is sad about another woman. That's very important, remember that. Meanwhile, the Booger Man decides to wreak havoc on the city and turn everyone into monsters. This is bad because the big one is still tripping out, talking to trees and finding himself. And probably shitting all over himself. He's part cat and that looks like a phenomenal trip. Too good not to shit yourself on. This means the little brother has to fight the tentacle demons all by himself. He gets his ass kicked until the magic conch shell starts saying, "Use the sword, use the sword."
The sword. Use the sword.
Then this whole demon issue isn't really a big deal. I mean, he just cuts the guy real good once and he's out. So fast forward to the next day. Hyoi randomly asks Ayumi's best friend if he can walk her home. On the way, she says this.
Well, there's sure been a lot of strange things happening lately. I'm not saying that's her fault, but if Aime's feelings are attracting some evil presence, I wonder if someone's stalking her.
Huh? How the fuck does she know any of that? There's not been a single scene where this chick sees any monsters or weird behavior, and she's talking about some stalker? What? Completely random, and turns out she's right. Ayumi's been attracting monsters like a magnet because of her excess of negative feelings. I mean, objectively, Hiroki is the most tortured character in the show and definitely has more negative feelings than her, but anyway. Hyoi rushes over to the school where the Booger monster has turned almost everyone into monsters.
Dark Cats unite!
Well,
We are on
did
to
he
your plans,
really
Jukabubo.
just say that?
Ayumi and Hiroki use this chance to slip out and escape to another classroom because they can't leave the school. They hadn't thought that far. Hiroki decides that in the middle of this life-threatening situation to be all like, "Oh, I wonder if Hiromi's farted today." Oh, my neck! The girl just starts freaking out because she's triggered by jealousy, and the Booger Man appears to just start talking shit for no reason.
She's such a sweet girl. Watch this. This can't be.
He turns her into a monster and basically says that since Hiroki ignored Ayumi so hard for that other girl, her feelings of hatred became strong enough for him to manipulate her evil energy, blah blah blah. Basically, she becomes a beacon of evil and it's impossible to save her now. So the two brothers have to decide on whether to purify her using magic and save her soul, or pure kung fu, baby.
Save her.
It's actually pretty sad how weak these guys seem. Even I wanted to pitch in after hearing how they fight. At some point, Jukabu says, "Stop!" So they both actually stop. Hyoi finally asks the question, "Why are you doing this?" And his response is,
"Every human being has both good and evil in their spirit, and as
oh, there. He 100% forgot his line for a moment and tried to roll with it. They take the fight outside and Jugamongo gets serious. I want you to close your eyes and imagine the literal embodiment of evil. What would the physical manifestation of negativity and hatred look like? Oh. While that's still going on, Hiroki stares a little too deeply into the tentacles and falls in love. Seriously?
I realized that we were meant for each other, and I'm sorry that I let you down. But now we will finally be together for eternity.
Even so, she's like, how can you love someone else? And he's like, true. And she's like, well, okay, I didn't really need much convincing anyway. I just wanted to hear you say it. And are raptured right after. So they're dead. Let's check on the Biggs the cat fight. Oh, he got cut once, so he's dead. And the story ends. There's a lot to decompress here, so I'll do my best to quickly and accurately relay my thoughts so we can get to the last show. The voice acting is some of the worst. There are constant moments where I'm like, wait, what did you say?
Let's get out of here.
There's moments where I'm deeply disturbed, and I have real specific gripes with certain characters. Hiroki is clearly just voiced by some man.
Hey man, I'm not some trick pony that you see at the sideshow at the seashore. Cut me some slack, Pops, and let me go home.
The fuck are you talking about?
I think he's some PA's cousin or maybe a janitor who got roped into doing the role. On the flip side, this anime is clearly from a different time, so they swore much more frequently and were kind of savage with how the characters talk.
I'd like to see you after school for a little while today. 3:30, room 2B.
Oh man, what a bitch.
Oh my god.
I enjoyed that quite a bit, so that's gonna bring the score up a tad. The art is not the worst, but deeply disturbing nonetheless. A lot of the imagery is really gross and the fights look awkward. There's definitely more for me to dislike than there is for me to enjoy. And finally, the story. You just watched it, I don't really have much to say. The only thing I wasn't able to touch on was just how corny the whole thing is. Like, the characters just go on these corny ass rants and do stuff like that Dark Cats Unite nonsense. Overall, I rate my enjoyment of this one a 7. It was fun and had me cracking up, but I pretty much showed you all the funny parts and wouldn't recommend watching it yourself.
What the fuck?
Sherlock Holmes. Quirky, yet competent detective who's not afraid to get his hands dirty to solve a case. Sherlock Holmes doesn't give a fuck about everlasting love or little idle songs. He cares about chewing on banana peels or whatever British people like to do. That's a joke. That's a joke. But as you can see, very early on in the opening, you get the eerie sense that something isn't right.
What? Yeah, she's getting treated like Jesus. Yo, load.
Vampire Holmes is about, you guessed it, Sherlock Holmes, but vampire. However, in this anime, he sits on his couch all day and reads about cows while Hudson tries to get him to solve mysteries. The show's a little bit different from the others in that it's seemingly self-aware and doesn't take itself too seriously. It's even genuinely funny at times, but don't let that fool you. There's a reason for this rating. Oh! The animation actively challenges your idea of bad art. It looks like shit. There's not a single frame that I can pause on and justify to a stranger. I would just be like,
Are you winning, son?
It's Fat Bitches Mud Wrestling, I swear! You can tell the artist really didn't want any part in making new backgrounds because almost the entire anime takes place in this sad little room. And the characters, there's always something wrong with the characters.
Why does he look like Hudson just said something deeply disrespectful? Oh.
Did this show draw characters? Yes. Did they make them move? No. The story really isn't doing the show any favors either. Episode 1. Hudson harasses and pressures Sherlock into solving a crime. Sherlock picks finding a lost this thing, briefly. Episode 2. Gay tensions rise as Sherlock finds another case to solve. Just kidding, he's laying on the floor. Episode 3. Sherlock eats cake while talking about how he doesn't have friends. At this point, even I was getting angry that Sherlock was such a lazy piece of shit. Why won't you work, Sherlock? Whoa, oh my god, that's really cool. Then, on our 4th episode, Sherlock sells Hudson's ass for a year worth of rent. And it sounds like I'm picking random details out to make the show look odd. No. The main arc of episode 4 is about Sherlock pawning Hudson's B-card for a roof over his head. Every episode is set around some mundane activity. It really is the Cowboy Bebop of the 2010s. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering where this whole vampire thing comes into play. I think the creators of the show would also like to know. Throughout the entire 12 episodes, that whole thing isn't mentioned once. However, in the last 2 episodes we get kinda close. There's werewolves. You dumbass, that says werewolves. Apparently there's some werewolves going around and Sherlock decides to go out on a long walk without inviting Hudson. The next morning, Hudson reads the daily paper. No. Sherlock has been working on this case the whole time. His Zanny box, the room drawing, everything. Oh, never mind, a dog bit his head, so I guess that means he didn't solve the case. The end. The characters are really strange. I had this strong compulsion to murder Hudson despite him doing nothing wrong.
Shoot him! Shoot the baby teeth right out his mouth!
I also liked and disliked Sherlock. He's really funny at times, but super annoying on other points. Then there's the satanic cat that Sherlock makes friends with, but whew, that's for another episode. Overall, I give the characters a C. I know we already talked about the art, but maybe we misjudged some things.
No. He hasn't.
I didn't misjudge anything. As for the story, when they actually tried to get serious both times, I couldn't help laughing. It's impossible to take this show seriously, and for that, I'm gonna have to give this show some points. It's so stupid and so ugly that when the story actually tells a banger of a joke, it magnifies the hell out of it. It's like when a fat guy does a cartwheel, like, holy shit, did that fat guy just do a cartwheel? It's kind of normal for skinny people, but when the fat guy... It's funny. Overall, I rate my enjoyment of the show a solid 8. By far my favorite show on this list. I wouldn't really recommend it to you guys, but like Mars of Destruction, it's really short, so you can squeeze in a few laughs if you're curious.
What? I can't fucking hear you. I need to be wiped. Wipe me, please.
The dementia section. I don't know what it is, I just know that I don't like it. At the start of this video, I was on the prowl, looking for some real nasty garbage, and I found it. Most of the truly bad shows on my anime list are in this dementia section. Shitcom. I was so excited to talk about this one because of the name. Sitcom. Poop. Get it? Well, that went out the window. This one made me so mad, and there's more, which taught me a valuable lesson. Not all bad anime is good anime. Here and here are where you want to be. As long as you're at least okay and above, great job. And if you pass a certain threshold of bad, you start to get irony and you can laugh at how dumb it is, like a blind dog. But once you're below average and not bad enough to laugh at, that's a danger zone. It's common knowledge that these are the 3 states of anime. Unfortunately, I discovered the existence of a 4th zone. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure tier. No, but sometimes a show is just so trash that you can't even absorb a smidge of entertainment out of it. I ran into a lot of that, so there's a few shows I finished and didn't bother mentioning because it's boring. And so we all learned a valuable lesson at the end of the day, which we'll pick up another time if you guys enjoy this type of video. I actually saved the worst rated anime for another time, so if you want to see more stuff like this and the Demon King Academy thing, be sure to let me know. Bro. Alright, let's do it.